Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. This is Jed Brewer with Below the Line Club and Study Groups. Really excited to have you on this December day. Join us for a lubricant distribution case study. You probably see this panel of industry experts. You may confuse them for, I don't know, holiday calendar male models, but no, that's not who we are. We are just normal human beings. So if you still got coffee in your mouth, really happy that Dan Jones, who's the executive partner at ahatis, as well as Scott Angleton, who's a study group member at Dion Sons out of Southern California. He's the director of operations there, and is going to share with us a little bit about how they are using ahatis and some of the tools to optimize their lubricant distribution. So should be a really good webinar, about 30 minutes of time. But really the main topic is optimizing business processes, whether that be inventory, SKUs, intercompany transfers, procurement, et cetera. And also, how do we communicate with our manufacturers and suppliers when we're on allocation? As we know, it's been a really challenging year in many ways for us as lubricant distributors, with allocations, price increases, all of the driver shortages, et cetera, that we've had. And so how can we use technology and different business practices ultimately to relieve some of the pain that we're feeling and make ourselves more profitable as well as better serve our customers? So that's thematically where we're going today. And again, really pleased that Scott Angleton with Dion Sons, they're a Shell, among other brands, lubricant distributor down in the Los Angeles, California area, and have worked with ahatis to improve their operations. As we go, we want this to be educational for you, so would love for you to ask any questions that you have. Given the framework, I have you on mute just for clarity and sound quality. But what I'd like you to do if you do have a question is to type your question into the GoToWebinar framework. There's a little dialog box in that pop-up screen. I will be able to read that question. I can relay it to either Scott or Dan or whoever is presenting at the time, and we want to make sure we can get that question answered. We're also going to record this, and there's a couple slides that these guys will be showing. We'll send those out to you after the call, so you can share with a colleague or review, as well as contact information for our presenters should you want to follow up with individual questions to them. So with that, Dan Jones, let me turn the floor over to you at ahatis. Big picture, I know ahatis works, has a partnership with Shell, but you can really work with petroleum marketers regardless of brand affiliation, including Scott and Dion Sons. I know you met them through your Shell affiliation, but Dion has multiple brands, as do many people, and I know Scott will share some about how they use their information total company-wide. But with that brief introduction, Dan, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Jed. I really, really appreciate it. And Scott, if you'd go to slide 1 of our 4 slides while I kind of start the introduction, we'll go through the little slide deck that we have. A couple of just quick things about who we are, who you're talking to. Jed did a great job introducing us. So ahatis, well, we're based out in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're a software and consulting firm, and we've been in business about 5 years, and we think we're kind of unique because we're not career software guys, we're not career consultants. We're the 3 of us that run the company are former executives in big companies like Dannon and Del Monte and ConAgra and so forth. So we've been able to get a great business going. And one of the things we started 3 years ago with Shell Lubricants is this concept of Sell Thru Analytics that we did at ConAgra Brands. And it's basically where the manufacturer with independent distributors and then independent end customers communicate better, share data, and then utilize the analytics from that data that we create to make better business decisions, whether it's the manufacturer Shell in this case, or the distributor Dion in this case, or even end customers. So I actually know some of you that are in attendance because we're a partner with Shell, and they're 90 plus independent distributors, and some of you are those. And actually, the software that Shell's purchased from us is available, some of the functionality is available to their distributors at no cost. So some of you have the software now and are benefiting from better visibility to your inventory and things like that. But what we found working really closely with Dion down in Southern California, and Scott's here to kind of talk about it, is there's more functionality that a distributor would like than what they get for free from Shell. And that more functionality, first of all, could just be more than my Shell brands, because I have other brands. But it could also be purchasing decisions and repack decisions and transfer decisions and things like that. And so for about if you're wondering how much our software costs Dion, it's about the price of one head count in your business. And for about the price of one head count each year, Dion has purchased our software and now has the functionality we're going to show you today. And so, Scott, if you go to the second slide, our agenda today is I'm going to do the overview with hopefully a 1 minute time frame, and then Scott's going to actually talk to you about the repack module, the transfer module, and our backhaul module, and then we'll do a little recap at the end. We'll be done by the bottom of the hour. We're not going to show you the software today because there's not that much time. What I want to just open up to everybody, you have my contact information as part of the Below the Line Club. Anybody that would like a demo, and me and Scott will be happy to schedule that with you, and Scott will be there. And we've done that with Christensen and a couple other distributors where they've met directly with Scott and had demos of the software. We'd be happy to do that. So please reach out to us afterwards if you'd like a deeper demo, and we'll see if any interest is struck here. So Scott, if you'd go to slide 3, the real benefits of the software that we see there's 4 of them. And in the top left, I mentioned this already. This is not just your Shell data. Ahatis is not just a Shell software vendor. We're independent from Shell, happen to have them as a client now for 3 years, but you're going to have visibility to all your network and all your products. Going over to the top right, what we do with the software is generate specific actions that'll solve your business problems. And that's what Scott's going to give you a couple of examples of. And then bottom left on this slide is kind of what I mentioned before. We're not just software tech guys that have been doing this for years. We're former industry executives, so we have a business mindset. And then over on the bottom right, if you're kind of wondering how this works with your ERP or the software that runs your business, we can do this very, very quickly because it's all built in the cloud on Amazon Web Services, and we don't link to your ERP unless you'd like to, but we definitely get your data and then we put it in this cloud-based tool that's available to you through the internet. So we can get this thing up and running for you in 2 to 4 weeks if you commit the right resources and are willing to really get this cooking. So we think those are real benefits. And then Scott, if you go to the last slide, and this is I think where we'll kind of spend some time, and I'm going to let Scott talk. The functionality that we have available today to Shell as a manufacturer and to Dion as a distributor is on the left, and Scott's picked out 3 that he's going to cover today with repack, transfer, and backhaul. But then we also have a roadmap on the right of kind of where we're taking it. And so again, as Scott's talking today, as we wrap this thing up, if you'd like to learn more, let us know. But hopefully we can at least share with you how Dion's benefiting from this. So Scott, I'll hand it over to you now to kind of run.
All right. Well, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. And I'll cover a few different areas. So we'll first go over the repack. Then I'll go over the transfers and the backhaul. So on the repack here, the function of this was allow us to not handle product more than we need to. So one of the things it allows us to do is see what items are coming in, say tomorrow, and we put in tomorrow's date, filter to that date, and we can see the items that are coming in, and then look at, based on our velocities, our sell-through of that specific repack item, be it drums, 5-gallon pails of a specific item, we can look at that and say, hey, based on your sales, this is how much you should keep in stock. Now, we've set for us a goal of about 2 weeks of inventory, and that's what we're looking for. So if we look at a certain item, we can see that, on this, we say roughly we're selling about 20,000 gallons per week. So, our stock suggestion is about 40,000 gallons, right? So it's suggesting that we stock that much. So this is what we use to go through, and it gives us these suggestions on what to repack. So we can filter it to the day of what's coming the next day. We populate that. So one, we're repacking it as it is arriving. We're not putting it into our tanks. We're not putting it into totes, then later back into another repack of 5-gallon pails, whatever it is. We try and repack as it's coming off. This eliminates the amount of times we have to handle it. The repack teams as well, we have 3 separate teams that work in different areas. So when we build this out, we're also doing the repack based on what we have in stock. So this would be, here's what's arriving based on this date. This is what we need to repack on that date. There's other suggestions on items that aren't arriving yet, but based on our velocities, for example here, it's saying, hey, you should have 200 on hand. You don't have any. So we can give this to our repack teams. And I can tell you when we first started using this module itself, the suggestions and the amount of repack we had to do was probably 2.5 pages long. And this was because our repack teams were really repacking only on demand. Hey, this is what I have going on a transfer, or this is what I have for an order. They looked at their open orders and repacked just what they needed. So every day they were just running in circles to repack. Now they build an inventory and pull from the inventory. And it makes the repack teams much more efficient. They only have to repack items a few times a week in bulk. They get it out of the way, and it's really efficient for the teams because now they're just not every single day repacking small amounts of everything. They build up a stock, and it allows them to move on and do other work. So those teams are now actually repacking. Once they're done, they can go work in the warehouse, whatever it may be. Again, so this is the repack purchasing portion, right? So once we do the repack from here into the purchasing, we build this, and this then goes into the repack warehouse, which is just an extract that exports to Excel, and we hand that to the repack teams. Again, this has allowed us to, especially at our facilities, carrying just what we need for that couple of weeks, and we were able to build up an inventory. In those instances, like when we were on allocation, we knew exactly what we had on inventory, what was coming and going, because we could also see what was arriving. All right. So we'll move on from here. Now, did anybody have any questions or anything they would a little more in depth on the repack portion?
Jed, remind us how we're going to do questions here. Do they send them through the browser, or do they just speak up, or do we wait till the end? How would you like us to do questions?
Yeah, I'd like people to type in any questions that they have, and then I can read them and pick them up. They pick up the questions at the end or at an actual time throughout. But yeah, please type in any questions you have, should you have them.
Yeah, just in the chat bar on the bottom there.
Right.
Okay. Well,
and go ahead and go on to the next one, Scott. Yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, if anything comes up on that, go ahead. We can always come back to these things, right? So the transfer module, and again, I don't know your operations, but just so you're familiar with our operation a little bit, we kind of run a hub and spoke. So our Long Beach facility is our main hub. This is where we receive all of our bulk, all of our package items. Everything comes into our main warehouses here, and then is distributed to our spokes, which are covering all of Southern California, down to San Diego, up into Bakersfield, and then Inland Empire. So again, we try and have them carry 2 weeks of inventory. And again, prior to this, they were making their best guesses as what they thought they needed. And I can tell you, using the tool, that they were way, way, way overstocked on their items. They were carrying stuff that they didn't even sell, and we were able to see this through the tool. So the transfer works similar way, is they'll filter to their location, and it makes suggestions on what they should have on hand. And again, this is based on their, if it's got committed orders already, how much they have available, and how much they have on hand. So it's looking at all those factors and saying, hey, based on what you are selling, what you sell, where's my velocity? Sorry, what you sell per week, which is the velocities, this is what you should have on hand at any given time. So it's making these suggestions. Now, they don't have to follow the suggestion exactly, but it's a good guideline to get them to their 2 week of inventory. So they'll populate this and they'll fill these in going through. And what it's looking at is anything that's below 2 weeks of inventory. We've got a pre-filter set up in here. So they put in anything that's less than 2 weeks of inventory. And you can see based on some of these, it's because we have a lot of committed orders. So it's taking more than what they actually had in inventory. So it'll suggest enough to cover those open items, plus give them that 2 weeks of inventory. So they'll use this to get what they need exactly to the 2 week inventory. Again, there's a little bit of wiggle room in there. They can kind of make adjustments to it. If they know they have a customer coming on that hasn't purchased in the past, so they're not accounted for in the velocity, they can make a little bit of adjustment in there. But again, this has really, really helped in the carrying cost at all of our spokes. So the spokes are now carrying 2 weeks of inventory, where again, in the beginning, I could see some of them were carrying hundreds of weeks of inventory, though it may be a small item. They were carrying, 10 drums of a certain product, but they only sold 1 drum every, 37 weeks. So they were carrying way too much product, where it's sold in our other facilities much faster. So those are the ones that we've really been able to eliminate a lot of our carrying costs at all the facilities. And again, they love it now. They were using their best guesses as what they needed. A little bit of purchase history, a little bit of tribal knowledge, but using this has allowed them to really keep their inventories where they need to be, cleaned out their warehouses. We had one facility in particular when this first came up, and they were sending, I think initially right off the gate, we had 3 truckloads of items coming back because they were so overstocked, and they didn't realize that they were that overstocked on each of those items.
Scott or Dan, is the on-hand quantity in real time, or does it update periodically?
So yeah, good question. So this is updated hourly. So it is not actual real time as an order gets placed, but on the hour, it comes through and it's updated. So we can see that when it updated last, right? And this is just a screenshot, so you're seeing an old date, but it'll show you every hour if it's updated. Now, this will even change color if you don't get the most recent updates, right? Some of the data set, go ahead.
I'm sorry if I could, a quick interruption to that. For those of you on the call that are familiar with our software that Shell provides you for no cost, that data is updated monthly. You send us the data monthly, we populate it with the Shell data and then provide it out monthly. With this distributor version that we're showing you today that Dion has from us, as Scott's pointing out, we update it every hour throughout the day, 10 times a day. Now, what that means is Dion is sending us their data in an automated way 10 times a day. And, then we process it and put it into all these calculations. Makes it, to Scott's point, not quite real time, but allows them to make business decisions different in the morning than they might 2 hours later.
Correct.
Thanks, Scott.
A follow-up question, does the system handle purchase orders that smoothly transition into a receipt within the same process flow?
I'm not sure what the question was.
If I understood that, Scott, it would be, so we do have a purchasing functionality, and the way I hear that question is, does the recommended purchase from this STA tool automatically feed my ERP? And the answer to that's no. Remember, I said earlier, there are not automatic connections between this analytics tool and your ERP. If Scott uses his purchasing or transfer tool, or even the one he showed earlier with the Repack, it gets a recommended Repack, and then you have to go put it into your ERP or go do it in your warehouse. It's not automatically connected, if I understand the question correctly.
Oh, they're asking about
that was how I understood the question too, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, so it does not backfeed into your ERP or our ERP. Correct.
How do you do that in your case at Dion, Scott?
So with us, when it comes to the transfers, so the recommended transfers, each facility would build their own transfer. They do the extract. Again, they export it to Excel. They can do PDF, but they typically do Excel. And they'll use that to go into our ERP. We have a very antiquated ERP. They go into our ERP and then build their transfers, right? But our ERP doesn't make those suggestions, right? In the past, they just kind of used an old spreadsheet of what they thought they needed and filled it in, whereas this is actually keeping them at a nice level inventory. So it's just a manual input into our ERP. And that the difference here is with the Repack, these are just the suggestions as well. When they do the Repack extract, that's handed out in Excel to the Repack teams. We make the suggestions, but they will populate it differently. So if I suggested that they repack here, if I said, hey, I need you to make 25 drums, they may, while they're at it, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna fill up a full pot, I'm gonna do 36 drums, right? And then they can fill that on the sheet. It goes back to the purchasing department, who then upload it back into our ERP. So we know exactly how many. It'll update this on-hand unit, right, after it's been put in. So about an hour after they hand it over, data upload will happen, and we'll have enough. It won't suggest to do any more of those because now it's updated with the current quantity.
That makes sense.
And let me see. Sorry, I'm jumping around. So this is
Scott, sorry for the interruption. Again, just keep an eye on time. Get maybe 5 more minutes, and then take me back to that last slide, and we'll wrap it up at 27 after the hour.
I was going to try and jump over to the back hall real quick.
Yeah, perfect. 5 more minutes, I think is good.
Yep. So the back hall is essentially the same thing that we were doing the transfer for to the different facilities. There's a backhaul module. So this was the recommended transfer. That was the extract here that they would be getting. This would be the backhaul. And these are items that they're overstocked on. So we set it at a limit that, hey, if you're overstocked 13 weeks on this, kind of display it in this section. And the reason for some of this will be there are items that are discontinued, or the customers that were purchasing out of that facility, say our Van Nuys facility, the main customers that were purchasing that either have switched products, maybe they've moved over to a different facility that product now needs to be moved over there. But it will show me the items that were overstocked on and make a suggestion on how much to ship back, right? Because it looks at their sales velocity on that particular item. And on these items, when you're seeing $9.99, that means they have infinite weeks. They don't sell it at all. But we know we sell it at our other facilities, so it'll say, hey, ship it all back. We'll move it somewhere else. And this, I can tell you at the beginning of this, and this is an old shot. This was really bad. I mean, like I said, hundreds of weeks of inventory we can see, and we've cleaned that up. Now it's more of, like I said, if an item discontinues or they stop carrying it or a customer has moved on, then we get overstock, but we then reposition it back to one of our other facilities that is still moving it. So we don't have all this dead inventory just sitting around. And that has provided a huge, huge benefit. So that's kind of all I have. I know somebody wanted to bring up the allocation. I heard that was discussed. I can briefly talk about that for about 30 seconds if you'd like.
I like that. Good. Go for that, Scott. That's a great one, especially because I know Shell's doing those allocations, and really everybody is. So please do.
Yeah. So as you know, we all hit the allocations. Shell kind of threw numbers at us and said, "Hey, here's what you need. Here's what you're allowed to have. Here's what you were using previously." And we had that down to the SKU level, down to the customer. So what we did is, through the tool, we're able to see our velocities at every facility on each product. So when they said we're cutting your allocation to 50%, we were able to do that for all of our facilities. So if it was 10,000 gallons company-wide, they said we're knocking you down to 5,000 gallons. I could tell you where that portion of that 5,000 should go. You know, 1,000 went to the other facilities, maybe 2,000 to this facility. And so we could divide it up evenly, and we were able to create those tools. And we actually created, based on all those velocities, we extracted those, created some tools that every time an order was entered, we could see how much it was cutting into our allocations, and if we still had enough left. And if a new shipment came in that, you know, sometimes they say you're not getting a shipment, one sneaks through, that would account for it as well. And it really helped us. I mean, I think we were one of the few distributors that really, through the heavy allocations, really didn't suffer too much. And we were able to keep our customers supplied. I think we didn't run a single customer out. We did limit what they could take, but we never ran anybody out.
That is a pretty significant testimonial compared to what most people have experienced this last year.
Yeah, and a lot of it had to do, like I said, it was having the knowledge of what our velocities were on every single item out of every single location. So when they cut what our allocation was, we knew how to reposition that at each facility. So everybody took the same cut across the board at all of our facilities.
Dan, I know you're going to wrap up with a couple comments, but just a question that came to mind as you work with a lot of distributors, I mean, Dion being one of them, of the different kind of modules or tools, what do you find is the biggest opportunity that a distributor tends to have as it relates to your product? Is there a specific big pain point that everybody's bleeding at, or most people?
It's a great question, Jed, and the answer is the three things that we demoed today, and it's why we picked those: repack, transfer, and the backhaul. And I think especially lately, the allocation topic. But I think just as kind of a wrap up, that's a great point. We want to make sure everyone understands the features that Scott showed you today. These are only a few of the features of what we call our distributor version that you would get from if you wanted to go deeper with us: inventory control, repositioning, purchasing, reblending, end customer opportunities, things like that. So this was just a little flavor of it, and hopefully it was more beneficial listening to Scott from Dion than the guys selling software. But we do encourage you, if you're interested, to reach out to me, and we do one-on-one demos all the time with distributors. And you can request Scott join us. He's been happy to do that. The leadership team at Dion's just been really grateful to the benefits they're getting from us, and have offered to help show the others that they're serious about it. So we're happy to schedule a demo with anyone that would like to. And I think, Jed, you'll be sending my info out to everybody so they can just reach out. That's it. That's what we wanted to share. And we do have 2 more minutes if anyone has questions, or Jed, you have anything you want to pass along?
Yeah, another question is, one feature was being able to export the data into Excel, PDF, etc. How do we get data into the system? Does it come in by a CSV file, or how does it get in there?
Yeah, so we get the data from the distributors, and they actually send it to us in a technical format called JSON. So what happens when we get started with these hourly updates is our technical team works with your technical team. And probably that question's coming because the monthly data that the distributor sent us for Shell is sent sometimes in CSV format. So we started people off easy with the CSV format so they could get it going, and we're still doing that with some. But to do this like Dion, we need to be able to be connecting with your technical teams in a format called JSON. But we can walk you through that in the demo too.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Dan, and Scott too, and Dion, just being able to share from a peer member of what problems you faced, how you were using the data, and how you overcame that problem. It's just so valuable for other distributors to be able to hear your experience. And thank you too, Dan, for creating this tool to help us, 1, make ourselves better, and 2, better serve our customers. So as Dan said, we'll send out his contact information should you want to follow up with him. This slide deck and recording should you just want to explore more. So thank you for your time. Happy holidays, everybody. Enjoy this lovely December season. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.